So this panel, we're going to extend it for 5 minutes. So we have about 11 minutes for discussion. And I just want to first say that grouping these 4 papers together, I think is really fascinating because it shows us all examples where inter-Asian dance was being created within the institutional context that was in some ways created by a state, of course, you know, very different, ranging from the Japanese imperial state to the contemporary Singaporean state to the Cold War era Cambodian state. But these are also examples where we see the inter-Asia actually embodied in the performances, whether it's through the choreographic reassembly that we see in Aparna's paper, the specifically diplomatic oriented choices around what types of new performances to create in Darlene's paper, the new kind of inter-Asian choreographies that we see emerge out of these tours that the performers experience in Yukiyo's paper, and then multiple layers of reassembly in Jihoon's paper with Che's original inter-Asia choreographies, as well as the reassembly through the documentary cinema work of the contemporary film artist and researcher Nam. So we do have some excellent questions that have come in both directly to me and in the public chat. So the first one that I'll share is from Teju, who spoke at the beginning to introduce us. She is the director of the center that's hosting this talk. And so the question is, thanks for your fascinating discussion of Bharatanatyam and Buddhist diplomacy. So this is for Aparna. Are dance practitioners in India familiar with these translated forms, and how might they feel interpolated by them? And by interpolation, I mean to say, how do dancers in India respond to diasporic transformations other than being dismissive of that which is not national and therefore pure? So Aparna, would you like to respond?
Yes, thank you, Niranjana, for that really sharp observation. So what's happening in Singapore now is that there's a flow of cultural capital from India to Singapore because there's so many presentation opportunities and residencies and really opportunities for dancers from India to create work. And because of this, and since most of the funding available for making work in Singapore comes directly or indirectly from the state, we are actually seeing a lot of Indian dancers participating in these inter-Asian kind of reformulations of Bharatanatyam. So very famous Indian dancers, including Rama Vaidyanathan, Priyadarshini Govind, among others, have come to Singapore to make works based on the Cambodian Apsaras. In fact, one of the prominent Singaporean Indian dance companies also tour India with their works on Buddhist monuments, a different work, not this one. So I think my fascination with Anveshana kind of accumulated over the course of years, seeing other kinds of performances in Bharatanatyam with Buddhist themes and like Asian themes more broadly, which involve dancers from Asia. So I feel in maybe a couple of decades ago, there would have been an outright dismissal, but that is not happening anymore.
Great, thank you, Aparna. Our next question is for Yukiyo. It's from Priyanka Basu. So fantastic archival material. I was wondering if you could say a little bit more about the last image where you mentioned the Song of India. Also, were these dancers performing for the soldiers? If so, there might be comparative possibilities between them and women dancers of the Entertainment National Services Association in World War II England. These women were also sent to South and Southeast Asia to perform for troops stationed there. So Yukiyo.
Yes, thank you. As Yatin already wrote in chat, it said that Tyree choreographed the Song of India when she was on the way to return Taiwan after the war. But I wonder why she could make it despite she never been to India. So thank you, Priyanka, for your suggestion that about the Entertainment National Service Association in World War II in England. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And I see there was a comment here from Susan Sentler about Jihoon's stunning material and the multiple modalities and configurations of the archive that allow a new liveness to emerge. So Jihoon, do you want to comment on this? Jihoon? Okay, well, while we're waiting for Jihoon, I know he's having some technical issues. I would like to ask a question for Darlene. You mentioned several times in your talk that the dance is not merely symbolic, and I think this was a very important sort of framing point in your discussion. And so I guess I would love for you to elaborate more on why you feel it's important to assert this.
Right. I guess more. I think it's a crucial sort of point to argue, because more often than not, we see dance or these cultural artistic performances as merely representations or symbolic representations of the new nation, the new modernity, the modern aspirations of these newly emerging sovereign states. But when I came about a transcript of Paul Cravat's interview with Princess Bhupa Devi, she was actually able to give sort of a more dancer's perspective, the view of the dancers as they perform these pieces. And I thought that was quite crucial. They're not simply there as entertainment. They're not simply there to represent the modern nation. They're there to do a good job. They're there to perfect the gestures. The gestures need to be done in an appropriate way, because when they do that, there's a more sort of a practical, more functional consequence that's going to happen. If they do a good job, the king will be pleased, and the king will be able to do his job well. So I think that's actually quite an interesting sort of piece to weave into the way we look at the Royal Ballet Dancers performances within Cambodia and of course across Asia as well.
Thank you so much, Darlene. I see that Jihoon is back online. So Jihoon, did you want to comment on the video that you posted and also Susan's comment? Can you unmute yourself, Jihoon?
Actually, Susan's comment is not a question, and just the showing her interest in Nam's work. So that's the reason I shared the video that where Nam introduces the overarching idea of her exhibition and how he approaches choice of material. So it supports English subtitles, so anyone who is interested in the exhibition can check out the video. And there is also another installation view of the video connected to the Art Sunday Center that hosted the video. So you can see how what the exhibition looks like, and how she approaches the choice, very elusive but multidimensional but fascinating legacy and multidimensional aspect. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So we have a question here from Catherine Neeser. All these presentations work with archives as method. And I wonder, while moving across Asia's, in quotes, how these archives differ. And is there a politics of archive that you found in these archival works, including the contemporary performance in Jihoon's work? Please feel free if anyone would like to comment on this question. Darlene, Aparna, Yukiyo, or Jihoon.
So beginning with my brief comment, as a cinema and media studies scholar, I have always been interested in the issue of archive and its it's very, contestating, ontologies from different perspectives, definitely, from political perspective. So basically, any, archival material address the ways in which, any archive receive, construct and organize each material is subject to, change and constant recontextualization and reimagination. So I basically, side with Hyposter's, famous, assertion that the contemporary approach is archive is grounded in the premise that the archive material is open to its inherent fragmentation, but it's also open to multiple interpretations and reimagination and recreation. So that's also part of the that I think that is also applied to the relationship between archive and politics and across different media. Although we must take into account the different media specific properties of the archival material itself and the apparatus of the archive itself, to approach film, video, or performance and other other artworks. So we must take into account the differences of all these art forms, but we also need to develop more cross-disciplinary perspective of how archive is reconceptualized by different attempts, including artist attempts too. So yeah.
Thank you so much. We're almost out of time, but would any of the other three speakers like to comment briefly on this? Okay, in that case, let's give a warm thank you to our panel one presenters. Thank you so much, everyone.